Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for day 3 of LitMas 2018. And today's prompt is the best book I read this year. But before we get into that, I want to mention something real quick. Steve Donahue, the Don himself, had made a good point yesterday on his video that there is no requirement to complete LitMas start to back. That if you have not already jumped on the LitMas bandwagon, you may as well do so. This is not a socially binding contract. So if you would like to start on day 3, on day 4, on day 5, and maybe do a recap for the other days, or just ignore them all together if you want to skip tomorrow because no one reads poetry anyway, then do so and just join back. Or maybe you want to come up with your own prompt for day 4. After all, cheating is in the spirit of LitMas. I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. And with that, I think we will get into today's prompt. I cannot find my copy of this book, but the story of this book deserves telling as well. You're probably getting sick of hearing about the catastrophe that was September 2018 for Strip Cover Lit. The catastrophe that was September because of October. We had been planning to drop 50 videos in the month of October and then double uploads for the rest of the year, but we had an external hard drive on which we had all of this work go down, and that work is lost forever. Ironically, I think this is ironically, maybe I am misusing the word, I just lost that. Well, hell. Dalton and I spoke about it just a little bit, and one of the books that we lost, you probably saw in his video earlier, and one of the other books that we lost full read-throughs, full read-alongs. Dalton's book would have been, I think, a 6-part series. This one would have been a 4 or 5-part series. Ironically, I am choosing another book that we lost. But the book that I am choosing is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I've liked Shirley Jackson since my first encounter with her. And my first encounter with Shirley Jackson was, of course, as many people come to Shirley Jackson, that is through The Lottery, her short story, which is truly haunting and well worth a read if you ever get around to it. But after that, I ended up finding The Haunting of Hill House, or The House on, or the Haunting. It depends on how you come across the novel. And I came to that novel because I read Danse Macabre, in which Stephen King sings the praises of that novel over and over and over and over. And it's a good novel. It is not the slasher horror type of novel it is not the slasher horror genre of horror which many people are used to in today's world, especially in light of the Stephen King novels going supernova and him becoming synonymous with the horror genre. But it's a story that will stay with you, and one of the things that we ended up doing a read-along for House on Haunted Hill on the channel, and one of the things that I made a point to say in the series is that Shirley Jackson in that novel paints the idea of the house as a maze, and then she plants the idea of a minotaur in your mind, but she doesn't do anything with it. She just lets those things rumble around in the back of your mind to do the damage on their own. And because of that, there is a constant stress running around the back of your mind while you're reading this novel that never has a payoff. And she does that and builds these little things on top of one another as the novel goes on. And that is from whence most of the horror from Shirley Jackson's novels comes. And We Have Always Lived in the Castle is no different. But that's not what I like most about that novel. What I like most about that novel is the characters. And So I think that the horror element that I sort of went into there with House on Haunted Hill with the Minotaur, that sets tone. And while and whereas We Have Always Lived in the Castle employs the same elements of horror building, it also has tone on top of that. There is something generally unsettling from start to finish with that novel. And it is just, it's really good. But the characters involved are so real and so fleshy, despite minimum amounts of time introducing and developing them, that I think as a writer it would be a neat trick to figure out just how it was that Shirley Jackson pulled that off. I've spent a few months now trying to figure it out, but I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. But also I have to mention As I Lay Dying, because I did reread it this year, and I think I didn't go back to check, but I think I named Fight Club my favorite novel in last LitMas, despite the fact that As I Lay Dying was the best novel I've ever read. And As I Lay Dying is still the best novel I've ever read. It is just a tour de force. But I wanted to go with Jackson here, because I think that I have sufficiently sung the praises of Faulkner and As I Lay Dying on the channel. But if we're breaking it down to the best book I read for the first time this year, it's definitely We Have Always Lived in the Castle. But that is all that I have for the prompt on day 3 of LitMas. I hope to see all of you and more for day 4 of LitMas. The prompt for tomorrow, of course, being the best poem that I read this year. And hit the like button if you like this sort of thing. Hit subscribe if you would like to join us for and through LitMas. And if you want to be around for LitMas 2019. 2019. It's hard to tell the years anymore because I am so old.